From the Solitaire Rose Radio Network, this is His Crazy Life. I'm a bad parody of Ira Glass.
There's one other thing that I thought that caught my attention. Comic covers with people sitting on the crapper. There were two this month. So we can always. I know if ever I wanted to order just comics, I think somebody else is already doing it. Comic covers with people on the crapper. But, I mean, if there were ever times where I was tempted just to order the comic just because of the cover.
Joe Ryder and Corey Strode have been doing a podcast for almost 6 years now. It started as a way for two friends to keep in touch and talk about comics. Then, they decided to take it less seriously and just have fun, remembering their days from college radio. As they did this, they gathered a fan base. The show has now lasted over 200 episodes. They've had numerous guests, numerous bits, and a lot of promises that they've completely forgotten. But they've remembered their time in college radio. Not the good kind of college radio, where people played innovative music, but the kind of college radio where people played hits. You got to pretend they were disc jockeys at a top 40 radio station. Hard to believe people in their 20s would do that, but there it is. And really, let's face it, who in their right mind would want to be a disc jockey at a top 40 radio station playing music for 14-year-old girls? Creeps, pedophiles, and these two idiots. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that it's what you've done that makes you what you are. And because Corey screwed up the recording this week, we had to go with a different format. So what he has done has made the show what it is. Today in our show, we have 3 stories. One of the past, one about comics, and one about things that Joe is selling on eBay, many of which involve Corey screwing up and Jen yelling at him and Joe laughing at the both of them. Please stay with us. Act 1. Corey and Joe were ready to record at 8 o'clock, but Jen foolishly updated her computer, which took a little over a half hour. Because it took so long, and they were already recording, they began chatting, and then they began reminiscing, because that's what people over 30 do. They talk about the past. And people over 40 talk about the past even more, because they know they have more behind them than they do in front of them. Corey and Joe are older than that, so it's even more sad and pathetic. And even though, when they were in college, they went to different colleges, they had very similar experiences when they worked in college radio. So, Act 1. This Crazy Life on Shitty AM Radio.
Did I ever tell you about the DC graphic novel program?
Yeah.
I finally got something off eBay to if I can find the tape that has the ads that they ran on the radio.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that'll be fun.
I can put that on, and I don't know if I might make a solo podcast out of it, or maybe...
That's a solo podcast.
Yeah, because, I mean... And I could also put in a little bit, too, if I can find the tape. I've got about 300 tapes of all my college radio.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I don't throw nothing away. And they might still play it because the tape quality varied from, okay, I'm just buying a pack of the 12 for $1 tapes at Kmart to, okay, I'm going to buy some real tapes and try to keep it going. And when I did my show, my more tribute to Dr. Demento, it was actually sponsored by Dreamhaven, and I had some ads for Dreamhaven. And of course, people would play these ads throughout the normal era, because it was kind of like when you go to the radio station and everybody wants to be on the air. And so they had a thing where, okay, you got to do something, either productions. Well, I ended up getting on the newscast. So I got on the air first reading news. And what I would do is get the nightly paper, because at that time we actually had a nightly paper. And that would be my current headlines. Occasionally there was like some real news that happened, like when somebody set off an M80 in the library. So that's how I got my foot in the door. And then eventually, as the people who were in charge graduated, I became one of the people in charge. And there was one summer where I went up and my buddy Dave, he was he wanted to get to school early to get a practice room because he was going for a bachelor's in music, a BM. And then I convinced him to do the radio show with me. And we came in and I talked to the programming director who was kind of on his way out. And I said, well, we'll do the morning show if you want. Come in. It was like 6 to 8. And then, or was it 7 to 9? I think 7 to 9 because they couldn't get on the air till 7 because the building was locked. That's how much in esteem we had. So, and then at 9,
we were in the basement of a dorm.
Well, actually, we were up on the third floor facing the women's dorm, which led to a couple of funny jokes where my buddy gave the he would do the look out the window newscast or weathercast, and it was looking out at the Washington Street Bridge, and so he would always say, well, it looks kind of crowded there, and then of course the one time when we switched places and he was driving and I was talking, I would do dumb Mad magazine jokes like, well, I just saw two old ladies mug a grad student, so I'll call the weather muggy. Not any good jokes. And then one time Dave gave a thing about, and blah, blah, blah. Oh, and there's a very attractive young lady stepping out of the shower over at Comstock Dorm. And I said, Dave, you're not supposed to let him know we can see that. Oh, okay, never mind. And ring, ring, ring. We got like 2, 3 calls of girls. Can you actually see me? I said, no, trust me, our window does not look at, we can see the front of the dorm, we can't see in the dorms. Because, we're right, Comstock was like right next to them. So, and then that was like, we're like, hey, people are listening to us. So, well, we did the morning show, and then we dropped. And then, of course, everybody wanted to do their own show. And so I came up and said, well, yeah, I'd like to do a show. It's kind of a Dr. Demento rift. But what I did is I would take themes of songs and just play them as a block. Like My Dead Dog Rover, Dead Skunk, Dead Puppies, boom, a dead theme. And they're like, yeah, well, we're thinking about it. Okay, well, I do have a sponsor, Dreamhaven Host. Oh, you have a paying sponsor. Well, we'll do that for you. We'll put you on. So as long as they got a little money out of it, wasn't a lot. I think it was like $300 a quarter. So I did it for 1 quarter. I got it out of my system. That was fun. Radio day.
Have I told you what my radio show was?
You have, but I don't recall it.
The first semester I did it. It was the first semester I had to do what you were supposed to do. It was, okay, here's the songs, you play these. You can mix in a couple of the ones you like as long as they're from here. Don't bring any music from home unless you're on a special show, blah, 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 blah.
That was the same thing.
And we did for a semester, but by the end of the semester, I was really, really, really not liking doing it much because I didn't like the music. I didn't feel like I was doing anything creative. There were times where it's okay, we have to fit in 3 songs in the next 10 minutes. I would just put in the songs and all right, it's over, flip it over. But when we had time, it was Danny, Jimmy, and Ron. They were my D&D friends. We were kind of the buddies. Mm-hmm. So we would sit around and talk. And that was the stuff where we would get a call or two. And no one ever got calls. I mean, Jesus God, no one ever got calls. So they were like, well, whatever you're doing, you're getting calls. We'd really like you to stay. I said, well, I'm really bored. I'd like to do more of a specialty show. So the next semester they let me play, my own music and have more time for discussion. And by the end of that semester, they were saying, okay, who's coming back next year? And I was, of course, I don't think so. And they said, tell you what, your show could be whatever you want. Really? You have to play at least 5 songs an hour and you can't curse till after midnight.
Oh, cool.
Okay. And we would come in, sometimes we would talk about movies, sometimes we would talk about comics, sometimes we would just talk about our lives. We created characters. The only one I really remember was Jimmy's, the Reverend Billy Bacardi from the Church of the Hard to Believe. And he went into full preacher mode. And he would just go off for like 5 minutes. Oh, it was hilarious. There were times where it's, oh, gosh, Looks like we've gone 50 minutes. We still have 5 songs to play. I'd play 2 songs at once. I'd play the shortest. This is the shortest song we can find. And then we had the 12:01 minute. Well, we were told we can't curse till after midnight. And after midnight, because we're a low wattage station, the FCC rules no longer apply.
Hmm.
So, for the 12:01 minute, we have Jimmy White. And Jimmy would say fuck as many times as he could without taking a breath. And we would count.
Oh, God.
I then later found out that because we weren't broadcast over the air, it was literally, they had set it up in the early 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the dorms, they had like an old-fashioned phone system where if, you know, there were like 5 or 6 dorm rooms connected to one phone line, you could pick up your phone and if somebody else was talking, you know, oh, okay, I'll tell you later. Kind of a party line, whatever. They broadcast through the phone lines. The radio signal was through the phone lines. So once you got outside the dorms, nobody could hear it. If I would have known that. But there were times I snuck stuff through, and there were, you know, you always had the one real nerdy guy who thought he was a radio producer and was going to be, you know, in charge of an FM station. Who was our guy? Mike Burnett, and we always called him Mike Brunette, and he was bald, so we would make fun of him. And, oh, there's our producer, Mike Brunette. It's Burnett. Sure it is. One of the things we like to do here on the Solitaire Rose Radio experience is to see just how red we can make his face. So, here's Yoko Ono singing. Whatever that song was,
God.
it's just her moaning.
We never did. We look, I'm telling you, if I had access to what we have access to today.
Oh, God. Oh, I'd probably do podcasts in college.
You know, that there's a couple of things. I'm just writing these notes now because I'm thinking as I talk about college radio, I'll write these things down. But I remember once we had a similar thing because, you know, Radio K?
Yeah.
That's the format our radio station had.
Okay.
There were 2 radio stations, WMMR, which was broadcast cable into the dorms, and then the snooty college station.
Yes,
over
which
there.
played
classical music.
Oh, no, our snooty station was, we play modern rock.
Oh, these guys didn't play modern rock.
So it was like Skinny Puppy and, you know, all the pretentious, I wear a black turtleneck all the time rock music.
Oh, no, this was worse.
And we hated them.
This was worse. These guys were snooty on us because they were real radio, because they were over-air AM, whereas we weren't. But the difference, what it was, is way back in the 60s, and this had to be around when Garrison Keillor used to run the station, they set up their own radio station because the guys who had the over-air station ruled it and were kind of snooty. And, you know, they were the ones that the U went to with the announcements because everybody would hear them. And that's what got WMMR going. There's a WMMR out, I think, New York way. So obviously, you know, they didn't have problems with the call letters because it was just cable.
Right.
When Nick was at the station, which was probably 2 to 4 years before I went to college, there's a big hubbubaloo about it. Well, you know, people our student fees are paying for 2 radio stations, and we can't even listen to one of them because it's cable. And so WMMR said, "Fuck you, we're not taking student fees." And so the whole time I was there, you'd hear people complaining about us. I was like, we do what we want. We're not taking student fees. We're basically run by advertising and that.
Well, there you go.
And then as we left, as I got close to graduating, there was a movement to get back because what was happening is our guys saw the handwriting on the wall where they figured, you know, the university is going to say, you know what, we only need 1 radio station. We want you 2 to merge. And the guys, of course, doing the over-air station wanted no part of that. Whereas our station was like, we saw it was coming. So we figured by getting student fees again, we could build up a base and get things going. And I was there to get the ball rolling for that, but then I graduated and I left, which I think kind of shocked everybody because they all thought I was going to be around. I was like, guys, I've graduated. I've been here a whole quarter after I graduated. And a couple of years
Fuck
later,
you, I'm out of here.
a couple of years later, Radio K came where, yes, it's the used radio station, but they play now college radio. So they won the war. When they finally merged the two together, that's what created Radio K. So I felt kind of good about that. But the thing I was thinking about, we had the same things, you had to play a rotation, which they worked on, A songs, B songs, and C songs.
And I hated all
Yeah,
of
you
them.
flipped them. I didn't mind. It was, I heard some music I like, other stuff but to keep the interest, they let you play 2 songs every hour, every half hour, you play your own song. And so I come in and I was doing the radio shift after the morning show, so I had my record collection with me. And I get up and I play the theme to the Transformers movie, the animated. Rick Derringer, Transformers, robots in disguise. Music director comes in, bam! What the hell is that? Oh, that's just something I thought I'd throw on from the morning show. Oh, thank God. I thought it was the general manager because he thought the music director had put that on just to piss him off. But the oddest thing we ever did, I think, out of many things, we had a morning, we found a Grace Jones album.
Oh.
And so we played all morning long, can Grace Jones sing? And we'd play a song and we'd rate it. No. We got a couple where I said yes. He said no. When we played this one, which was kind of a soft ballad, and it was like, you know what? This one actually works. This works for her type of voice. So the news crew came. They're doing a newscast. And we start talking to her, and she's kind of aghast that, we're talking to her. And what she didn't realize, we had a live mic and we were going over. And then her boyfriend, who was, I think, he must have been the general manager. And she starts talking to him about what we're doing. She's like, oh, look at these guys. They're playing a Grace Jones song and asking if she can sing. Here's the news person bitching about this. And we got a live mic going. And I think he knows we got a live mic, and we're just like, oh man, this is so cool. The news person's freaking out about what we're doing. And of course, that was the quarter where they were rebuilding the station. And so we didn't have any way of recording anything on tape. The best shit we did was that quarter, the tape system was down, because they'd always tell you, tape your shows so you can make yourself a demo tape.
Right.
We taped everything, but we just taped it on cassette because Dave and I had no real gumption to go into radio. But we wanted to save it just to listen to. Can Grace Jones sing?
See, we did something similar, but not really. I had a theory that every REO Speedwagon song sounded exactly the same. So we would play 2 of them at the same time.
I think.
Can you tell the difference?
Well, we had a thing where we vowed never to play a Michael Jackson song. And then during Thanksgiving, we played ABC because we thought it was a turkey song. And then somebody called up and said, you vowed never to do that. And we're like, holy shit, they caught us. Well, how about a couple prize?
It's a Jackson 5. That's different.
How about we didn't even think of that. We just said, how about a couple of prize tickets to a concert tonight? But one day I thought, okay, we're going to do this. Dave talked for a little bit, and he's talking. I queued up. I think it was Dave was giving me crap about the fact that there were songs I wouldn't play. And so I said, okay, just shut up. Keep talking. So I queued up Madonna's Like a Virgin and Michael Jackson's Beat It. And I said, okay, we're going to play these 2 songs, but we're playing it my way. Simultaneous. Boom. And I let them both roll. And I would cut in depending on who's going. And there was a perfect part that goes, like a virgin, beat it, beat it, beat it, beat it. And I had the whole office lost it because they said that was so funny. Even the music director was, he treated her music like, her babies. Just came in and she had tears in her eyes. She said, oh my God, I can't believe you guys did that. And of course,
See, I never got any of the people in charge to say they liked my show. They would just go, "You're the only one who gets calls." And I go, "Yeah, because I put them on the air, and we talk to them, and we make them part of the show. And if they're saying goofy shit, we make fun of them. And the shows are interactive. Somebody calls in and goes, 'Yeah, I'd really like you to play a blah 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 song.' Who cares?" I would get a request every once in a while, and if it was a song I didn't like, I'd like, "Can you play I Want to Be a Cowboy?" Why?
why? Oh, we played.
Well, because it's one of the songs you play. I don't care. Why should I play it? I don't like the song. Convince me the song is worth listening to again. Because if you remember right, I destroyed that 45 on the air. Now I had to go buy a new one, but it was worth it because that song is crap. Tell me why you think that song is good. What is the convince me. It's got a good beat. So does this.
You doing this on the air?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant.
That if they requested a Ramones song,
Mm-hmm.
it would get played. And that was where I first came up with the thing where, and I put it on Twitter at least every 3-4 months. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to remember, this is very important. Sheena is a punk rocker. Susie is a headbanger. Make a note of it and do not get them confused.
I see Jin's online. I was going to say
Oh.
one last thing. We should just do a podcast about college radio.
God.
We did the opposite. We were the fastest request line there. We would do anything we could to get the song on, including stopping a song in the middle, which was
Oh my
easy when you
God.
had records,
Can you hear
and
me?
starting another one.
Yes, we can hear you.
So there'd be times like we'd be in the middle, like Hungry Like a Wolf, and I'd be, all right, we got a request. Here it is. Okay, now back to Hungry Like a Wolf. You know, what you could do with records. You can't do that now. It was fun.
Act 2, Crazy Comics and Stories. This is where the show proper began. They talk about a review for Case File Arkham. They talk about Christmas sales. They talk about the usual silly stuff. And they were just about to get to the ads when somehow Corey screwed up the recording. So we present to you Act 2, Crazy Comics and Stories.
Hello and welcome once again to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. And at the other end of the series of tubes and wires we call the internets is Joe, Crazy Writer. How you doing today, Joe?
I have my voice.
Well, that's good for doing a radio
It
show.
is, and we'll talk more about in freaking why.
Why what?
Exactly why.
Why is there air?
Oh, I'm not going to give it away now.
Oh,
Oh, I just got a note from you, Corey. 5 minutes to showtime.
oh yes.
Good things are prompt with the interwebs tonight.
Well, I sure hope you're ready in 5 minutes.
I will be.
And we have Jen Wicked with us too. How you doing today, Jen?
Hello, I'm good.
Well, good.
I am drinking tonight for one Mr. Andy Jackson. I have vodka and cranberry.
There you go. I have diet soda.
By request.
I have the Diet Cranberry.
We take requests.
If somebody wants me to drink, all right.
Joe, I have a request.
Why? We don't take requests.
We do. Jen said we take requests.
We
Joe,
do?
Can you play People Who Died by the Jim Carroll Band?
No, but I can blow my nose. Much better.
And you know I edit that out.
Oh, don't edit that out.
No, I'll edit out the blowing of the nose. I won't edit out the fact that you said you're going to do it because it's disgusting.
You stop editing stuff out.
Yeah.
No.
Just think all the good stuff he edits out. I want the raw video, and we should have this is all the stuff that Corey edited out. Unfortunately, this podcast is 15 hours long.
Well, and it doesn't exist because most of the stuff I edit out I destroy because I don't want it used against me in a court of law.
And that's why you are a rat bastard.
A lousy rat bastard.
But still a goody two-shoes.
And charming and delightful.
Go figure.
But mostly goody two-shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, I can't stop it. I've given up. You win. I'm a goody two-shoes.
Liar. That's just what a rat bastard would say.
So,
Can I give a shout out?
Okay.
Sure, why not?
I just want to congratulate the guys of the podcast, Panels and Pizza, because they've gone 1 year and they hit 50 podcast episodes, and that is impressive.
Wow, that's better than we do.
Yeah,
Although we're much better now.
maybe.
No, we are. We haven't missed a week in forever,
That's true. We're getting a lot better.
except for last week.
What happened last week?
Well, last week, I've been doing the Falcon podcasts, and last week we didn't have a Falcon podcast.
Did you run out?
No. Oh, God, no. And Novelcast was supposed to be last week, and it didn't get done either.
I sense a slacker.
Yes. Jen will attest to this. I am the laziest human being she knows.
It's unbelievable. The levels to which his laziness sinks.
By the time Monday night was over, I tapped out. I said, all right, there's not going to be any more podcasts this week. I don't have any time. I lost my entire weekend, which I used for mixing podcasts. And then Monday night, we didn't record. We were recording on Tuesday night instead. And Monday, I had to deal with my car blowing up with somebody in it.
Boom.
Who was in it?
One of my coworkers asked me if I would help her get home and then to go to daycare to pick up her daughter.
See, there you go, being a goody two-shoes, and what did it do? It blew up your car.
Yeah.
Well, and I'd stop at a stoplight, and all of a sudden there's smoke coming out from under the hood. And I figure, this could be bad. And things are squealing. And no matter how much I turned up the radio, it didn't drown out the squealing. There was a Goodyear right there, pulled in. They took opened up the hood and said, oh, yeah, your radiator reservoir, it's broken. Oh, well, what? It's just broken. You're going to need to leave it here. Now, thankfully, they had a loaner car. And why all repair places don't have loaner cars, I don't know. So I was able to drive her to where her daughter was at daycare and pick up her daughter, drop her off at her apartment, and get home at 9 o'clock at night after having left work at around 4:30. And that's when I just started tapping my shoulder. I'm done. I'm tapping out. So I didn't get to read a lot of comics this week, but there was some comic news that I liked.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. All sorts of comic news coming on. We were going to go over the coolest stuff in previews, but we're doing that next week.
Okay.
I was going to go over the comic
He
sans
left
stuff.
his previews in the car.
No, I left it I left it at work.
Uh-huh.
Because I didn't put it in the car
like
because
the
it wasn't
excuse.
my car.
Excuses.
I know.
Oh,
terrible. We apologize. Folks, we here at Solitaire Rose Productions would like to apologize for the CEO of Solitaire Rose Productions.
I think you should do that on every
If
Listen
we
to
could
Joe
vote him
sounding
off
all
the island.
official and shit.
I know. I'm very
I
offensive.
almost said offensive, but that too.
Yes,
works
yes.
too.
No, that'll come later.
The new sales figures are out. I was looking through those. There's a lot of
You see what a
interesting
rat
stuff in there.
bastard Corey is? He didn't even ask me about my car story.
You have
We're
a car
getting to
story?
that.
Okay.
I do have a car story, but
Just
Corey
let him
wants to talk.
talk.
Corey wants to talk about sales figures, so go ahead.
No. We're getting to that. There's all this interesting stuff with the sales figures, but I didn't have time to dig into them and do any actual, research or anything. So, I got nothing. Joe, you got anything?
I had something, but the muses left.
Come on, Joe. What's wrong with your car?
All right, you talked me into it. No, I too tried to be a goody two shoes.
And it failed for you too.
It did. I'm telling you, something about being goody two shoes and driving just doesn't work.
When will either of you learn?
I won't. This week I had to alter my schedule, which is why we didn't record on Monday, because I had this training. They're going to put me in new equipment. So they train us, rather than just say, here it is, here's how it works. They somehow make it a 4-day, 8-hour class seminar. Even though I have seen these machines in action and I already know how to work them just from looking at them, nevertheless, it's all part of the war on terrorism. So Had a lot of time. I had to do it yesterday. Today, we got done early. Now, I have to put in a full 10-hour day anyways. So I thought, you know what? I'll burn 3 hours of vacation since we're done. I'd go onto the floor and do some screening work. They had a full staff. The flight loads are dropping. They will until Thanksgiving perks it up again. So I asked the boss, why don't I just go home? Okay, no problem. So I fill out the request, take 3 hours of vacation, get in my truck. I'm on my way, pull over at the cell phone lot. Figure, you know what? I'm home early. I'll give my wife a call, see if she wants me to pick up Holly on the way home from school so she doesn't have to do it. Helps her at work. Then she can stay late, finish up what she needs to. So I pull over, and I'm like, well, she didn't answer, so I'll text. Turn off the car. Mistake. And then I text her, and she says, yeah, go pick up Holly. No big deal. Okay, went to go turn the car, and you hear this noise. Now, normally,
The car's tapping out.
Normally,
Always
your
with the
car
tapping out.
won't make that noise. Normally, your car does a nice vroom, vroom, or as you'll find out in the wintertime, a vroom, 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 vroom. It means one of two things: your battery dead or your starter is. Of the two, the starter's worse because that means you have to get the sumbitch towed somewhere and have it fixed. Now, since I've actually had some pretty good sale days on eBay, and as you know, anytime I get a little extra money, something dies in my household, I figured it would have to be the starter. Well, I do have AAA, so I did call them. They're running late, so 2.5 hours later. Now, remember,
Good Lord.
I'm on my vacation time now. I could have just stayed at the frickin' airport and worked, but no, I thought I'd get home early. I left at 3:30. The sun was up. They got there at about 5:30. The sun was down. And granted, I do enjoy watching jets take off and land, especially the big DC-10s from FedEx and UPS and that. But it didn't have its appeal. On the plus side, he was able to just jump the car and get it running. So it's a battery. It's not the starter. It's a difference between $100 versus a couple $100. So I got the car going. I gave my wife a call. I said, meet me at Sears. We'll drop. And, of course, Sears closes at 6. I got there at 6:10. So I missed I got to leave the car there, but now I don't have it. So then tomorrow morning I won't be able to get up early and, run to the source, get my new comics before I run to work, and finish another 10-hour training day. But it didn't, like I said, it didn't cost me much, and I did finally get home. And I didn't get a loaner car, though.
And you know why Jen doesn't have a story like this?
Because she's smart.
No, because she's not a goody two-shoes.
I'm not a goody two-shoes, and I drive a truck.
Yeah. I guess mine's not really a truck. It's like a Dodge Dakota. It's like half a truck. I need to buy a real truck.
Well, kids, what do we want to do? Do we want to talk comic stuff? Do we want to go into your notes? Or do we want to just jump into the review that we have?
Somebody wrote nice words about me on the internet, so I would like
let's
to
hear.
What?
I know.
When did that
right?
happen?
This is from Brian Poindexter.
You say the word, we'll take them out. We don't want people spreading good news.
Hey,
good words
Brian is one of our super fans.
Well, he's
What's
got
a
his own
super fan?
podcast, too.
We love Brian.
Yes. Isn't he the one doing the podcast with his daughter?
It's a video thing. They're on
fun.
hiatus now, but they will be back.
Do you want to read this? Because I don't have a dude voice.
No, you can read it because I don't know where it is.
You have a
I
sexy
was going to
voice, so it's
message
more
it to
fun.
you. I'm not going to read it in a sexy voice. That's,
No, you just have a sexy voice.
I
mean,
do
it's-
not.
Well, it's better than listening to Corey all day.
That's
Getting punched in the nads is better than listening to me all day.
Is that how you used to get that high notes? Welcome once again.
I have been told I am not to ever use the high notes again.
I have asked Corey to stop screaming into the microphone.
She's becoming our what's a director?
I care about you, the listening audience.
Our tyrant?
I have called for a cessation to the screaming because it hurts my ears.
So, sorry, Butch.
Butch likes your screaming?
Butch said Butch not only says it's his favorite part, but if you notice, every time he's on the show, he imitates it.
We usually mimic your old opening.
Yeah, that's the screaming.
No, I'm talking about when you like pretend like you're puking and you're like screaming into the microphone.
Oh, he's
Yeah, it's same
That
thing.
needs to stop. Anyway, I was reading nice words about me. It says,
Which is rare.
I know, right? Okay, being the super fan that I am, I have to say that I think this is my favorite episode thus far, guys, in reference
Which
to my
one?
glorious pizza rant.
Ah.
And reviews, apparently, but mostly the pizza, I'm sure. I love when Joe Ryder brings his non-sequitur humor into the show, but this episode really clicked with the comic reviews.
Hang on a second. Non-sequitur. Oh.
The three of you just blended and gelled into a cohesive unit. Corey Strode was great as always, with his encyclopedic knowledge of all things comics, naturally. But the breakout star of this episode was Jen Wicked, aka me. Jen, this was really the episode that made me feel that you were a serious part of the show. I've been a fan of your comics and art, as well as your humor on the show, but hearing your critiques of the art, writing, and font styles really brought your knowledge of all things artistic to the forefront. This was the moment I switched from just being fond of your humor to fully respecting you as a contributor. Thank you, Brian, for not having respected me until this point.
Yes.
Great show, guys. Keep it up. You're still my favorite podcast, and that's not just the vodka talking. Smiley emoticon. Well, I got another one, too, from the Shadow People guy.
Oh, let's hear it.
Oh!
I gotta scroll up because I'm not sure where it went. I'm reading Facebook on the recording. Oh yeah, okay, here we go. This is from Phil Buck, who I am now friends with on Facebook.
And me as well.
Yeah.
Not me. No one
He's
sends
got
me
a
anything.
picture of himself with some blue stuff on his face. I can't quite tell what that is. Thanks for tearing my website a new one on the Crazy Comics and Stories podcast. You're welcome. After hearing the episode, I moved everything for those Shadow People over to Taptastic. I'm still not sure what a Taptastic is. Yesterday, we had our best traffic ever. Sometimes you need a kick in the ass to make necessary changes, so thanks for that. Thank you, Phil. I was going to look at your website, but I mixed a drink instead. I will review it at some indeterminate point in the future, I promise.
Cool. And if you've got stuff for us to review, listen to the ads because there's information in there now about how to send us stuff to review. We also want to kind of drop a hint that we will be getting bigger name stuff to review within the next few months and weeks and whatever. Ooh.
Hooray!
Hooray! But one of the things we have to review is a graphic novel that came out on PDF, and it is currently on its way to the printers. I am going to give a disclaimer before we begin the review. The folks involved in Case File Arkham are friends of my solo podcast and creators that I have liked and kind of been friends with for a while. They did World War Kaiju. It is Josh Finney and Pat McAvoy, both of which have been on my solo podcast. Patrick was the person who helped me do kind of DVD commentary for the Jack Kirby Glory, the Glory Boat episode. And this was a Kickstarter about a year ago that I supported. However, that does not mean that I will not be objective. I just want to put it out there that I know these folks and I like their work. So I thought we would start with Joe. Joe, what did you think of Case File Arkham?
I liked it. You want a little bit more?
Yes, a little bit more
right.
would be nice.
First, a couple things. If you're doing a PDF, you probably should not do a 2-page spread. If you're doing a comic book, you should probably not do a 2-page spread. If you're going to do a 122-page graphic novel, definitely never plan to do a 2-page spread.
Hey, Joe?
I hesitate to wonder how this is going to look when I finally get the printed copy that I plan to buy. And it was, again, I'm reading a PDF review copy, and I figured out, yes, it's a 2-page whatever.
Oh, What? Where is this 2-page spread you're talking about?
If I'm reading it right, it should be page 3 and 4 as they're running through the rain. Maybe it's not. Maybe I read it wrong.
I think it may be some settings in Adobe Acrobat you got going on.
It could be.
Yeah, because this is just a single column for me.
Okay. Yeah, because I when I looked at it, it was
Oh, no,
kind of
never mind. I see
confusing.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, and again, maybe it wasn't meant to be a 2-page spread. I thought it was. And it's just good review for anybody planning a graphic novel. Don't do 2-page spreads. They may look cool artistically. You can get away with it in a comic book, but I can't tell you how many times I'm reading a graphic novel, and I'm looking at you, Marvel, DC, Dark
You're right.
Horse.
I see
You try to split it, it just doesn't work. Makes it hard to read. I did enjoy the art. I'm not one that art will stop me from enjoying the story. And it wasn't distracting. And there were some scenes, again, I don't know if he just photoshopped them of 1940s towns and buildings that were just gorgeous. I just loved it. The only other thing that was odd, and I had to think about this because it's a gumshoe type detective story, and he's going to talk to the femme fatale, who obviously has something to do with it. And there's a lot of he ... is ... a visionary, which to me makes it seem like, okay, she's pausing for some type of dramatic effect. And that's how I read it. That's how my brain sees it. But there are areas where I'm not sure if that's the effect he's going for because of the placement of the words. It's like, this one is titled ... the christening. My husband ... no dots. He's a great admirer of young Pickman. And he and I own 9 of Richard's paintings, all original. That happened a couple different times where these dots appeared where I wouldn't expect them to appear. It could be just the old grammar training I got from years ago. I would expect a word balloon to hold an entire thought. It happened a couple different times, and eventually I just like, okay, maybe he's trying to go for the she's being breathless. This one is titled The Christening. My husband, he's a great admirer of, maybe that's the effect they're going for. It just, every so often when these dots appeared, they just kind of threw me out of the narrative, and I had to reread and get the panel back in. I read to about page 20 and then stopped. Again, we got 122 pages. I think it's the whole story. I don't know, because I am not going to read the rest of it because I want to wait, and I'm going to buy it and get an actual hard copy of it, which to me is probably the best I can say about any graphic novel. The last time I talked, I was like, you know what? It's a lot to review a graphic novel, and once I review it, why would I want to buy it? But in this case, I don't want any more of the surprises ruined. I just want to wait till I get it. Corey did send me a link. Maybe he could put it up on our Facebook page. I think it's scheduled to come out in February or March, if I read you can pre-order it. I think on Amazon. Target seemed to have a better price. Take that as you will. Again, I enjoyed what I read, and I can't wait to get the hard copy and finish reading it. Or I may break down and read the rest of the PDF. I don't know.
Jen, your review.
There's a lot of words in this. I don't have to read them all, do I?
No.
This has some really nice art.
Can I ask you a question, Jen?
Sure.
Did the black on white or the white on black lettering, did that work for you, or is that hard to read?
It is hard to read. I mean, it depends. If you're reading it as a PDF, I don't know what it would look like at print resolution. But I mean, I have this enlarged like 200% on my computer monitor, so I don't really have a hard time reading it. But the white on black is definitely harder to read.
Yeah.
I mean, easier to read.
Do you think it'd be better just to not do something like that, or do you think it works? Because I mean, it's him narrating it in his brain for us.
I don't know. I think the use of the boxes versus like the dialogue bubbles is not, is good enough. Um, I don't really like I'm looking at it in one place. It's kind of like there's a black background too, so those boxes of text don't necessarily pop as much as they could. The art's really good. I like there's a lot of good use of black and white. Obviously, it's all in black and white, but grayscale. The backgrounds are really nice. The only thing that really jumps out at me is the faces are a little flat in a few places, or they kind of don't look quite as consistent as I'd like to see from like panel to panel. But that's not really much of a knock on it because it's actually really well done. I really like the use of light and shadow in here. That's all I really have to say. There's a lot of words.
Did you like the story?
I didn't read the story. I'm only looking at the pictures.
The art? Okay.
Yeah, send me stuff with lots of pictures and few words. I mean, there's a lot of really good art in here. I'm looking right now at page 60. There's a couple guys going down a staircase, and I really like the layout of this page. It's kind of the staircase going down the left, and there's some dialogue and some heavily shadowed faces on the right.
Spoilers! You ruined it.
Nicely done. I know. A guy walks down the stairs.
60. Forget it.
Right? Right?
It's game over, man.
No, I definitely like it. I'm just gonna keep every episode. I don't read comics, but I mean, I think I'm more inclined to read something in print like Joe is too. There's just something about like looking at it on a screen. And I say this as someone that's used to reading webcomics, but a webcomic you get like a page at a time. Every once in a while you'll go through and read the whole archive, but then you're mostly consuming it like a page at a time. So if it's kind of wordy, you don't look at it and feel like, oh, this is a Herculean task in front of me. Let's reading all these. Oh my God, that's a lot of words. Is there an audiobook version? Is there like a Fisher Price version where like somebody's gonna read all this dialogue to me and I can just click a button to go to the next page of pictures?
Cliff notes. We need cliff notes.
No, not cliff notes, because I want all the pages. I want all the pictures. I just don't want to like read all those words. But I do see what you mean. There's more as I'm noticing. I go on the black text boxes with the white text. It's not awful. I probably would have preferred some other way to distinguish that writing because it is kind of awkward. But then again, it could look fine in print. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, when I get the print copy in March or so, I'll revisit it.
There's so much hatching. Whoever's responsible for this can be good friends with me. So much hatching. I have a hatching problem.
The hatching. There's so much of it.
I know. It looks great.
When I read the Kickstarter, I've talked a lot in the past about how my favorite novels are crime novels, detective novels, noir novels. And I will fully admit that the whole H.P. Lovecraft Cthulhu thing is not my bag. It's not the kind of horror that I like. I like my horror to be much more realistic. And I could go into it in way too much detail, but one of the things I liked about when Stephen King became huge was his horror was about normal people kind of dealing with weird supernatural stuff that it was more like one step out of reality, and I always find the Cthulhu stuff to be way too many steps out of reality for me, and everybody's weird and crazy. So I was a little trepidatious, but I've liked Josh's writing before. And as I've read the first three chapters. I read further than Joe. I think I got up to around page 60 or so. One of the things that distinguishes, to my mind, a good writer from a mediocre writer is that a good writer can use the formula of a story and still keep you interested and still deliver something new. And kind of like how, this is going to sound a little pretentious, and I'm sorry, with a sonnet, all sonnets have the same rhyme scheme, the same number of syllables, and the same number of lines. The challenge is in making them interesting. In a detective story, there are tons of mediocre detective stories, but the good ones use it kind of as, okay, this is a clothesline that we're going to hang the ideas and the characters on. And to me, this was a good one in that the mystery was interesting, the characters were interesting, and the characters reacted realistically to the really weird stuff going on around them. So I didn't get that Cthulhu thing of, oh yeah, it's weird people doing weird shit. But one of the things that really jumped out at me was Patrick's art. Jen talked a lot about the cross-hatching and the style of it. For me, it was the facial expressions and the body language. Too many artists are good but stiff. You know, they have perfect perspective and they draw really well, but their characters don't look like they move. They look like they are mannequins, or their facial expression is always kind of the same. Patrick was really good at showing mood with the character and using facial expression to tell more of the story. And to me, that's kind of the mark between somebody who's okay and somebody who's great, is somebody who knows facial expression, knows body language, and adds to the story rather than just illustrates the story. Patrick has talked a lot about how Al Williamson is one of his influences, and it really, really shows in how he takes the illustrative style and puts mood and character to it. I am in love with this book. This is the first in a series if it sells well. And like I said, I supported the Kickstarter, and I'm really glad I did. We'll just go around. Joe, you've already told us, but buy, borrow, or ignore.
Well, you have to pre-order it, so I'm going to buy it.
Okay, Jen, buy, borrow, or ignore.
Buy it if you like this kind of thing. It looks fantastic.
And for me, it's a buy as well. This is one of the top 10 graphic novels I have read this year. I'm really impressed by it. So, see, we don't hate everything.
You don't hate everything. Wait a minute.
Oh, you almost got
I
it.
got Jen to like a comic.
You tricked me.
Well, you liked other comics.
Tricked
You've
me.
liked Milk and Cheese in some ways.
Yeah?
Have you read any more of Milk and Cheese or any of the other books?
I'm kind of reading Milk and Cheese right now. I've been pretty busy.
Same here. I haven't read anything this week other than this.
I've been pretty busy. Yeah, I actually read this a couple hours ago, or
Boy, now I feel guilty. I haven't been busy at all, and I didn't read anything either.
we don't
Slacker.
we don't expect anything from you, Joe.
Well, good. I'm glad I'm delivering.
Keep your expectations low. You won't be disappointed.
Now we're coming up on the Christmas season, which I know is one of Jen's favorite seasons.
Yay, Christmas!
But I wanted to ask Joe something,
Oh.
and it's kind of a Tales from the Shop.
Uh-oh.
Ooh. You're coming up toward Thanksgiving. And normally with comics, you have to order 2 to 3 months in advance. So
Well, comics.
when would you start ordering stuff and stocking up the store for Christmas? And what's the sort of stuff you would do leading into Thanksgiving? And you were one of the first shops to kind of do the Black Friday thing. So why don't you walk us through what you would do during November to get ready for the busiest shopping time of the year?
Well, if I had a shop now, there's only one thing you should be concentrating on, and I'm sorry, Jen, it's Star Wars. Because if you don't have your store stocked out to the gill with graphic novels and comics, which are what your strength is, you may be able to carry some of the toys, but trust me, Walmart, Amazon, Target, they're going to be fighting out for the toys. So you might want to concentrate on vintage, current, and otherwise. When I had the shop, especially the big shop, Hot Comics, it depends on what the merchandise line was. T-shirts I sold really well 2 times out of the year. When I dragged them all to the cons and when I had them over Christmas. But they're expensive. They're hard to get. You can never be sure when you're going to get them. And as we've talked about, you got one shot to buy them because next month there's something else. So always order them in the previews. Back then, again, no Avengers movie, X-Men movie, Spider-Man movie. Well, there was an X-Men movie, but it really didn't do much for sales. So I was the store to go to if you needed T-shirts, especially after Brent closed his store down in Apple Valley, because nobody else carries T-shirts. I don't think anybody carries T-shirts now, and that would be a big thing I would get to. But you got to order them slowly throughout the years. Toys, again, you don't get scheduled delivery. You can order these damn things, and you just have no idea when they're going to get there. There were years where the hot toys were Power Rangers. Well, guess what? Walmart, Target, Toys R Us got the Power Rangers. We went to Target, Toys R Us, Target, and bought the Power Rangers, brought them back to our shop, and sold them. The difference is we'd sell them as a set. Comics, hard to sell as a Christmas gift, but the graphic novels, and again, we were ahead of the curve on graphic novels. You didn't go to Barnes & Noble, Walden Books, Borders, and buy graphic novels because they weren't doing graphic novels. We were one of the first stores that had an entire back wall filled with graphic novels. You had to plug the holes, make sure you had all the Sandman, the Preachers, the Star Wars, the big perennials, Marvels, Kingdom Come, Watchmen. Make sure you had comics on comics. We had all the, at the time, those big, massive EC reprints. We had the Marvel, what are they, Milestones, the DC call their big hardcovers.
Archives.
I wanted to make sure I had price points high and low. So if somebody came in looking for stocking stuffers, hey, we got some Pez dispensers, or we had some Devil Girl chocolate bar with Robert Crumb art on it, or our ever favorite Rat Bastard soda. And if you wanted to go high end, you could do that. And the number one thing we had that sold really well, gift certificates. Had them ready to go. We just bought generic ones from Office Max. I had what you call it. It was a manual printer that printed out embossed numbers, so it would not only print really nicely on the top, but also on my copy so that I could put it together. I never did figure out how to account for it. I talked to my tax guy about that. But what I finally came up with was that we would take the money, and the money would be covered in whatever month I took the money. So say you bought a gift certificate for $50 for me in November. That money was on my books in November. I wouldn't ring it as a sale until you turned in the gift certificate in January or whenever. So then I had to, it was kind of a thing. I would pay taxes on the money that year, and then I had to make sure I didn't pay it in the following year. So it was always a weird thing. When you have computerized accounting system, it actually trends a little better. But for us, we were pretty lucky because most of the gift certificates that went to our collectors. The wives would come in, the girlfriends, or they'd be buying it for their friends. And by the end of January, we pretty much had them all accounted for. So it was really weird because January sales looked really good, but the cash flow would be low, and you had to just make that discrepancy. And that's where you talk with the tax guy on that. Those are probably the biggest things to work on. Like I said, T-shirts year round, graphic novels. I don't recall any properties that hit over Christmas that I would, oh my gosh, we got to load up like this upcoming Star Wars. Seriously, if you ain't got a Star Wars display and you got a comic shop, you're missing out on something here. Everybody's going to be Star Wars and across the universe.
Act 3. Ads. All right. It's not Act 3. But we do need to put in the ads because, unlike National Public Radio, we don't get donations from you, the listener. We wish we had donations from you, the listener. Matter of fact, if you want to PayPal us money using the email address in the ads, go ahead. You can also send us pie, Christina Hendricks' phone number, DVDs, comics, review comics, pie, graphic novels, pie, and pie. So, Not Act 3, the ads.
You may not be able to join the mighty Marvel Marching Society anymore, or even the Friends of Old Marvel, but you can visit our sponsors. Our oldest sponsor is DreamHost.com. DreamHost.com is the best, bar none, web host in the whole known universe. If you need a website, go to DreamHost.com. They will take care of you as they've been taking care of me for over 15 years. If you use the code CRAYZ, that's Krayz, you get $20 off your first year of hosting. If you are listening to this podcast, you are very good looking. That's right. As a good looking person, you can't trust your skin to any old razor. That's why you need to shave with the amazing razors you can get delivered from the Dollar Shave Club. Every month they send a box with your shaving supplies. At the beginning of the week, or whenever you want, you pop in a fresh blade and get that fresh blade shave. It feels fantastic, and it's just one of the many, many ways that you can maintain the good looks that everyone has come to expect from you. And if you join us at the Dollar Shave Club, their plans start at just $3 a month. They have a money-back guarantee, and there is no excuse for you to ever use any other razor. So just go to dollarshaveclub.com/crazy, Krayz, to get started. One of the things you need to do this year, you need to get healthy. We all need to be healthy so we can all hang out a lot longer. And one of the ways to get healthy is not to go down to the vending machine and buy those chips or those candy bars or any of the other vending machine snacks. You want healthy snacks picked out by actual chefs who know what they're doing, and you can do that at graze.com. And if you use the code Corey S3R5P, your first and fifth box are free, so you can try it out. See if that's the kind of stuff you like. That's Corey S3R5P. Our final sponsor is Worldwide News. Worldwide News is the story of the lowest rated cable news network and the people who work there. It is updated twice a week by writer Corey Strode. Hey, that's me! And artist Dangerous Dan Moore. Worldwide News at worldwidenews.solitairerose.com, part of the Solitaire Rose family of websites. If you would like to contact us, there are a whole bunch of ways. You can email us at corey.strode@gmail.com. You can give us a call. We have a voice line that is open at all times at 952-856-0519, or you could go to Facebook and join the Crazy Comics and Stuff fan page. If you would like to advertise on Crazy Comics and Stories or on Solitaire Rose Radio, you can. Just send me an email at corey.strode@gmail.com, subject advertising. Thanks. The Real Act 3, recreation. This is the portion of the show that we had to recreate, where we sat down. Joe talked about eBay. We did our freaking and geeking. And we tried very hard to recreate what we had done before, but really there's no way to recreate something like that because Jin was very angry with Corey. Joe was very angry with Corey. Corey was very ashamed and wanted to cry the entire time. But instead, we re-recorded. So now that we're done with the ads, Joe, you said you were going to do NaNoWriMo this year. How are you doing on that?
Well, I decided not to do NaNoWriMo this year.
What?
Yeah. You see, what it occurred to me is that I'm spending $50 a month to get my eBay store going because, as you know, I got a lot of stuff in my basement to sell. So instead of doing a NaNoWriMo, I'm doing an eBay-orama. eBay-rama?
It's not NaNoWriMo.
I've given up.
It doesn't matter because
He mispronounces it every year. I've been doing it for, 13 years.
Irrelevant. Because
I know, you always say.
But I am doing an eBay-orama. Or is it eBay-rama?
eBay-RIMO.
Rimo?
There you go, eBay-RIMO.
All right, we'll do that. Because what I'm doing is I'm giving all sorts of good deals. And as you know, you go to the eBay site, which is Crazy, Krayz, or you can actually go all the way to my eBay store too, which is Crazy Comics and Stuff. But either way, just Google it and you can find it. So, for reasons I suppose we'll get into later, I'm going to ask Corey a series of questions which he already knows the answers to. I want you folks to know the first time I asked these questions, it was under the guise of Ask the Strode. And he didn't know the answer. But now he does. So he's been This isn't like one of those game shows in the 50s where he's been coached on the answers. All right, the question, because Corey, tell us what you know about Dell's 4-color comic line.
The first thing I know is that it started in the early 40s, and it was really kind of a series of one-shots, some of which were to test to see if people would buy a new series, and one was just because, well, we're only going to do one issue of this because it ties into a movie, or it's some property that somebody wants to retain a copyright to.
Now, do you remember there were 2 series. The first series started in 39 and went about, I think it was 25 issues, and they didn't have numbers on them because, like you said, they didn't really think it would be worthwhile to number them. Of the first series, Corey, do you remember what the first comic was about?
I do now. Joe schooled me on this. It was Dick Tracy.
It was.
And it was probably reprints of the comic strip, because around that time, comics were still mostly just reprinting comic strips. One of the reasons why Action Comics #1 is considered so important, it was the first comic book where everything in it was created just for comic books and not reprints of comic strips.
Oops, I learned something.
All right. Now, Series 2 started in 1942, and let me take a look here. I'm using the old Overstreet Price Guide.
The Overpriced Street Guide.
And they went all the way to 1,354. And I think it was issue 710 they started actually putting number on it. Because most people didn't understand it was 4-color comics presents. They always thought they'd look at it like, oh, okay, well, here's Elmer Fudd number 558. What happened to the other 557 copies?
They actually printed in 4 colors?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
And what are those 4 colors?
Joe, I will correct you. Back then, a lot of comics did not put out a #1 issue, and if they did, they didn't put it on the cover, because this was still newsstand distribution. And if it was a #1, a lot of retailers and distributors would go, well, this is the first issue. Nobody's going to care about that. They would put later numbers on the cover, such as with Tales from the Crypt started with issue 22, 23, something like that. Because then the news dealer would go, oh, this has been around for a while. It's successful. I'll put it up on the stands.
That's the silliest thing I ever heard.
Well, you got to remember,
that was how they did it back in the
40s and 50s. Now, Corey, you sidestepped the question. What are the 4 colors in comics?
Oh, let's see if I remember right. Blue, red, yellow. I want to say green, but I'm probably wrong.
I think you are, because I guess I'll have to go to Google.
Does black count?
No.
Oh.
And all the other colors were made by doing percentages of those. And until, really kind of until Neil Adams, they were in 25%. So it's like this color is 25% yellow, 25% blue. Or this is 50%.
You owe
75%.
Jen an apology.
Who's that?
why?
Who's that?
Because
Who, Neil Adams? You hear him on your Coast to Coast show. He's the comic book artist who believes that the earth is expanding and is hollow.
Oh, that guy.
He's also one of the most influential comic artists of the 60s and 70s.
When did he lose his fucking mind?
He's probably always been batshit crazy, but he started working on the Hollow Earth graphic novel he's been promising in about 84, 85.
Huh.
Okay.
I learned another thing.
Jen, are you ready to accept Corey's apology?
Yes, I am.
Because he
Always.
outright lied to you.
Black counts?
Virtually all color printing is done with 4 colors: yellow, cyan, magenta, and black.
There you go.
That's not how they were called in comics, though.
CMYK.
All color printing is done with 4 colors of ink.
I should know that.
And cyan is blue, and of course magenta was
Red.
It's not
Uh,
red. It's kind of a pinkish color.
that was Blue's Clues friend dog that come over to visit all the time.
Comic
All right.
or colors.
So number
Now,
one.
you know, Joe, you know why I know you're wrong on that
Why
one?
are you lying
Because
to me, Corey?
if you look at the color codes in comics, it's not YC. It's not Y 25%, C 50%. It's YB. So
basically, the printer place that I looked up is wrong, and Corey is right. So
no,
we'll go
it's
no,
it's
I'll go with that.
different.
No, I'll go with that. That's fine.
Y'all stop trying to confuse me.
It's not the first time Google's lied to me. I mean, but trust me, when you look up Brazilian midget porn, you find some things out you probably didn't want to see.
Joe, what's wrong with you?
Brazilian midget porn.
Okay,
You just save all this trouble by working in black and white.
See, that's easier.
Yep.
1942, the first Dell comic. Which one was it, Corey? I'll give you a
I got
hint.
it wrong last time, and I will get it
Batman.
wrong this time.
It had my name on it.
Batman.
No, because that was published by National Publications, which became DC.
Batman.
Batman. It was Little Joe, the comic strip. It was
Batman.
a Western comic strip created in the 30s. So more than likely that particular issue, like you said, Corey, was reprints. Why, you may ask, are we delving into Dell?
Batman.
No, that's next week. This week, I'm selling off a lot of my prized Dell comics. Put a lot of them on eBay. My favorite, of course, were a lot of the ones that had photo covers on them. So if you run over to Crazy, you'll see what's left. Here are some of the ones we sold. We meaning we, of course, me, of course.
You got a frog in your pocket?
I got a lot of things in my pocket.
I don't want to hear about it.
Good, because we're going to talk about Circus Boy. Dell Color Comics 785 and 813. Circus Boy was an American action-adventure drama series aired in primetime on NBC and then on ABC. Started in 56, ended in 58, and then went into reruns on Saturday morning from 58 to 60. And I'll just read the synopsis here. The young boy is named Corky. His parents, the Flying Falcons, were killed in a trapeze accident.
Batman!
And young Corky, after fending off the advances of creepy old Wayne, was adopted by Joey the Clown and the whole Burke and Walsh circus family.
That's not Batman.
No, it could have been, but he had the circus clown fend that old.
It's suspiciously
old
like
Wayne.
Batman.
So what happened was Wayne ended up going to probably another circus. Meanwhile, our young hero Corky had a couple seasons of fun. And of course, the interesting thing about this is that the young Corky was played by Mickey Dolenz, who later went on to monkey around and had lots of fun. The next one I sold was from Peanuts. It was Peanuts number 9. And like Corey mentioned, the actual series started in 1954, ended in 62, but it started out first in Tip Top Comics and later in Nancy Comics. Schultz did not contribute, well, he contributed the covers to these books. He only had a hand in writing and drawing a few of them. But generally, most people believe that his assistant, Antonio Pachmich, did most of the artwork on the Dell comics. And this one was number 9, which was published in 1961. Corey, have you seen the movie Rio Bravo?
Yes, and I've also seen the remake by the same creators, Rio Lobo.
And?
Rio Bravo is more fun. Rio Lobo looks better.
Ah. Rio Bravo, of course, is a 1959 Western film produced, directed by Howard Hawks, starring John Wayne, Dean Martin, Ricky Nelson, Angie Dickinson, Walter Brennan, and Ward Bond. And I think the only reason Ricky Nelson was in there was so that he could sing, because he was kind of a teen heartthrob at that time. The comic featured a gorgeous photo with John Wayne, Dean Martin, and Ricky Martin on it. I ended up selling it. It comes under 4-color 1018, and I actually have a miniaturized version of it because in the special edition Rio Bravo set, they have a miniature version of that comic, which is pretty cool because I can't afford the mint copy of the original one. It's upwards of $500. Most of the Dell comics I have were probably anywhere from good to fine, and because that was pretty the only way I could really afford a lot of them. The other one was kind of a flop as it goes. It was called Gunsmoke. Apparently, the second longest running U.S. primetime TV series with Marshall Matt Dillon. Every comic had James Arness on the cover. And the reason why I said it flopped because it started in 4 colors and it went into its own series, about 27 issues. It did not really sell that well, considering it was based on a huge Western at the time.
The thing about Gunsmoke was, it was not aimed at kids. Most Westerns were just, shoot 'em up, cowboys and Indians, cowboys and bad guys, guys in black hats. Gunsmoke was actually created for adults. It was kind of packaged on radio and then on TV as a Western for adults. It wasn't action-based, it was character-based. The other really interesting thing to my mind about Gunsmoke was it probably stayed on about 5 or 6 years longer than it normally would have due to ratings, because the wife of the head of CBS, said it was her favorite show, and if it was ever canceled, she would divorce her husband. Well, when he was no longer in charge of CBS, they canceled Gunsmoke.
Yeah, 1975.
Another weird thing about Gunsmoke, the radio show, Marshall Matt Dillon was actually played by, what was his name? I want to say Joseph Conrad, but that's not right. It's a guy who played Cannon on TV.
Oh, William Conrad?
That's right, William Conrad. And when they moved to TV...
He also starred in Jake and the Fat Man, for those of you
yes.
with the 80s reference.
And that's kind of why he didn't get the part. They said he was too fat to play the character. So they got James Arness, who was your more classic hero type, but they had problems filming with him too because he was 6'4", and most of the other actors were much, much shorter. So he was one of those actors who would they would be on boxes, or he would be in a trench for many scenes. Or they would film him separately and do cross-cutting back and forth.
I sold a copy of 4-color 679, which was the first Gunsmoke, and 4 colors did it, 5 issues, and then eventually just went off into Gunsmoke number 6. And they did maybe 1 or 2 a year. The big year was 58 to 59, where they published quite a few, but 1960, issue 27 was done, pretty much for Gunsmoke. Not every Dell comic is fondly remembered. Corey, we talked about Brave Eagle, which was a 26 half-hour Western series aired on CBS 55 to 56. Keith Larson, who was of Norwegian descent, starred as Brave Eagle, a peaceful young Cheney chief. The program was unconventional in that it reflected Native American viewpoints in the settlement of the American West, and was the first to feature an American Indian as a lead character, even though Keith was of Norwegian descent. This one was Dell number 929, again, a photo cover with Keith on it, and I think it sold for about $10. Mint copy, 65. That's the thing about Dell Comics. If you can find them in mint shape, you've got a genuine collectible, because back then comics were a disposable medium, kind of like paperbacks are now. You read them, you rolled them up, you put your silly putty on them. So finding them in mint shape is rare indeed. I did have a mint copy of, it was Walt Disney Showcase number 53. This is when everything changed to Gold Key. Published in 1979, it was basically reprinting former stuff that was published by Disney during the 4-color era. The Scarecrow of Romney Marsh was headlined, and of course, that was based on a series of novels by Russell Thorndike. Lead character was Christopher Sin, and dealt with a lot of, I don't know, it was War Office, Smashing Rings, whatever. The show itself was part of the Walt Disney Wonderful World of Color TV show. It was rerun in the 70s, put in a theatrical release with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which I didn't see in the 70s. I was like one of the few I didn't. Disney released a limited pressing of the show on DVD, and if you have it, it's worth about $300 on eBay. And the most notable thing about it was that the main character of Christopher Sin was played by Patrick McGoohan of Prisoner fame.
Be seeing you.
That was pretty much it. Had a good week selling Dell comics. A couple other ones I'll mention just in passing. I did sell a Jungle Girl Nude Season 2 number 4, which had a very nice drawing of Frank Cho drawing Jungle Girl's butt. And I sold a Star Wars number 107 to a guy who was trying to put together the whole run. Number 107 was scarce because at the time it came out, nobody cared. Low distribution.
It was the final issue.
Yep. Sure it was. Most notable thing on it was the first published artwork of Wilsh Portacio. He did one of the splash pages that Marvel used just to fill up space. And that was it pretty much on eBay. Again, if you're looking for something, just go to KRAYZ on eBay, and if you do win something, send me a quick note or put a note in the little space eBay gives you. Let me know that you listen to this here podcast, and I'll take something off my pile of stuff, like perhaps this Laurel and Hardy March of the Wooden Soldiers DVD with a bonus Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer movie. And maybe I'll toss that in just for the hell of it.
Well, you know what that means, kids.
It's time for me to wake up now.
Yes. And time for Freaking and Geeking. Joe, what are you freaking on?
I missed out on a Comic-Con. Last weekend, Comic Arts guys had a comic show in Bloomington. And they're usually just quick one-day shows. I usually like to go. But I was all excited because I figured I would go there and meet one of my favorite image creators. Eric Larson was there. I Facebooked him ahead of time, said, could I do a quick interview for our podcast that I do? And he was like, sure, whatever, come on. Unfortunately, I lost my voice. I'm just getting over a cold. My voice kind of petered out. I thought, I could talk to Eric. I wasn't feeling good. I just stayed home, which might have been a mistake because that day, my daughter was having her Sweet 16 birthday party. So while I was trapped in the basement, there were about 15 teenage boys and girls thundering around the house. I should have known something was up when I heard one of them, let's play Twister. And then for the next hour, all I heard was boom, 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 boom. Ha, ha, ha. Chris sat upstairs, drank wine with the moms, and kept asking, why don't you come up? And I said, not till they're gone. I got down here at noon. And I think I went upstairs at about 11 p.m. I did go upstairs for a couple things, sing happy birthday, get a piece of cake. I helped him light a bonfire just to get him outside for a while. So that wasn't too bad. Corey, I swear, there must be something about cars and comics this week that just sucking cheese out of everybody. On the way home from work, I decided, you know what? I had training, so work was all kind of goofed up.
We have the story.
Did I say it at the beginning?
Yes, right after I talked about my car problem.
Oh, okay. I had it down for freaking, so we can just cut that out. My computer's acting up. I swear every time I turn it on, the thing just goes into hyperdrive, updating this and doing that. I literally cannot use it for 20 minutes while it's busy doing whatever it does behind the scenes. It's nothing nefarious, but it's just annoying because it just locks everything up. So I figured while it's doing that, I'll go grab my tablet and maybe I'll download one of the PDFs we've got, maybe read a few more pages in the case file Arkham and that. I haven't turned on my tablet since January. Battery's dead. Nobody seems to know where the power cord is. So I have an expensive paperweight now.
You know you could buy a new cord on eBay, right?
I buy a lot of things on eBay, but when you want to use it now, it doesn't help me not having the cord.
But you said since like January, right?
No, January is the last time I used it.
Oh.
I just wanted
You've
to charge.
forgotten about it.
I just wanted to charge it up and use it. Cause that was a figure I got. I got Marvel Unlimited. I got, WWE Network. I do a lot of things with the tablet, but till I buy that cord, that's pretty much what I'm freaking on. Jen, what are you freaking on?
First of all, I'm fucking sober. Corey, would you like to explain why I'm sober?
Oh, that's it. I'm out of here.
Well, when we recorded this Tuesday, I was shooing the cat away because she was scratching at my leg.
Uh-huh.
And in turning, I pulled my headphones out of my computer.
Uh-huh.
And then I plugged them back in.
Uh-huh.
What I did not know is that Pamela,
Uh-huh.
who we used to record, when you unplug the headphones, says, "Oh, you must be done recording."
Uh-huh.
And we lost an hour of the show.
That's an hour of my life I can never have back.
And she was drunk, folks. It was classic
and I was
Jen.
fucking so drunk.
She was. It was
I was so
outstanding.
drunk.
You'd have gotten drunk just listening to her.
Yeah, it just unbelievable.
Contact drunk. What a way. What were you drinking?
I was drinking vodka and cranberry juice, though I
Corey,
believe I said that in the recorded portion of the program.
You owe her some vodka and cranberry juice.
And I want Stoli, I don't want the cheap shit.
Okay.
Furthermore, what did we do last night, Corey? Tell me what we did last night.
Well, we went and saw Ring of Honor.
Uh-huh.
Professional wrestling.
Uh-huh.
Live.
Uh-huh. In a
And-
gymnasium.
Yes.
How long was it?
Well, it's supposed to be 3 hours.
My fucking ass hurts.
Mine too.
You didn't tell me I was gonna be sitting on a fucking plank of wood for 4 hours.
Normally, it's an hour and 15 minutes, half hour break, hour and 15 minutes. But no, this was survival of the fittest. So when they normally would have stopped, we got another hour-long match. It was like going to Ring of Honor in 2005 when the booker at the time would go, well, these people, they paid their $20. Let's let Samoa Joe and AJ Styles go for an hour, and then we'll let the world champion go for an hour. Because more is better, right? No.
No, my
More is
fucking
not
ass
better.
hurts. Like I took a bath today and had to fucking soak in the bathtub. And I've got 2 new freakings now. You messing up the show and taking me out for 4 hours to watch oiled up, mostly naked men in panties rub against each other. And I mean, I'm talking like they stick their crotch in each other's faces a lot. You could have warned me about that or something. Not that I have a problem with it, I just wasn't mentally prepared to deal with that. And the sparkle pants.
Well, yeah, the Young Bucks need to have their sparkle pants because, they appeal to the ladies.
It was very homoerotic. Which I also don't have a problem with. But again, wasn't necessarily prepared for that. Should I talk about my original freakings?
Sure.
There's
if
a
you remember
fucking
them.
mouse in my kitchen or something. I don't even know where it came from. There's mouse poop in my kitchen.
But that wasn't all that's in your kitchen.
No, there's fucking centipedes in my apartment. I moved up here to the snow and the ice and the cold to get the fuck away from, the giant cockroaches that you don't have up here.
The cream-filled kind.
The palmetto bugs. The giant 4-inch black gross cockroach things that fucking fly at your face when you try to kill them.
When you're eating in a restaurant, they stop and go, "Hey, are you done with that?"
Yeah, exactly. And instead, you have, like, these giant fucking house centipedes or some shit. I've seen them in my kitchen and my bathroom now.
The only thing I could really tell you, Jen, other than, the centipedes, they live on other things. You said you were in an old house, so, there's not much you can do about that. But more importantly, for the food, make sure your food is in plastic containers and not in, like, cardboard.
I have, like, obsessive-compulsive disorder. Everything is in containers.
Good, because we had mice, I should say, in our house. And we found out because we picked up a cereal box, and the damn thing had eaten through and then cereal's all over the floor, and then we kind of figured, some bitch, we got mice in the house.
Yeah, I need to get some of those containers for my cereal, but that's like the only thing that's not. But I checked the boxes, and there's no, like, nibbles on boxes. And I'm a friend to rodents, Like, I'm not afraid of them, but I still don't want them crapping all over my kitchen. And I don't even know if this is, like, actually mouse poop or, like, do centipedes shit? I assume they do.
Usually it's dust size.
Yeah, like, I didn't think, like, this is not a thing, like, it looks like roach poop, but there's no roaches here, so it has to be a little mouse. But, I don't know. I gotta get some trap to try to, like, catch it and kill it so I can't hear its screams of pain.
The other thing you can do is, like, what I did is I had a big board I called Shirley, and I would just smash anything I found moving. And eventually you break the life cycle of these dumb centipedes, and they stop showing up, at least not as big. Every so often I got the little tiny baby ones that are like fingernail size, which is fine. I'll just squash them with a thumb. But those big ones, ugh.
Are you going to come clean it up after I smash them?
Well, you take a wash rag and then you just scrape it off into the sink or toilet and wash it down. It took me about 2 years to get it so I don't have them wandering around the basement anymore.
I think what he's saying is no.
That's fucking disgusting.
Well, let them dance through your mouth when you're asleep. It's all good.
Joe, is that really necessary?
Well, when I give you good advice and you blow me away, yeah, it is.
Smash them with a board and scrape the guts into the toilet.
Or pick them up by the leg and then their leg breaks off, so you got a little twitchy leg in your finger and the rest of them scampered away.
I'm sensing a little hostility here.
Those things are like the Ferrari of
Why the fuck am I
they
sober?
Just move.
Corey, what the fuck are you freaking on?
First off, that I screwed up the recording last week.
Okay, that's the last I want to hear about it. Move on.
Because I've been so busy at the jobs. We did not have our 2 extra podcasts last week that we're supposed to. I still have FallCon podcast to post, so they will be coming this week. Novelcast was supposed to drop last week, and it didn't because I was only supposed to get like an hour of overtime a day, and it ended up being more like 3. And I would come home, and my voice would be shot, and my brain would be shot, and I would just come home and lay down. And then worked at the group home this weekend. They had normally when you do a shift, you go, oh, I'm going to be in this building with these residents so that I can do all of their stuff today because they need you there for. No, I was bouncing cottage to cottage, and most of the time they kept me in the one where I get grabbed and choked by one of the residents. And no, it's not fun. It's not. I know that there are some people who, I like choking. Well, I don't when it's a 22-year-old autistic guy who, as he's choking you, has a smile on his face like he's a TV preacher who's talking about ascending to heaven to live in a mansion. No, he just has a smile on his face as his hands go around your neck and start squeezing, and you're just trying to pull up his goddamn pants. But also in this cottage, no one knows where the bathroom is. So the last 2 days, I have come home and had to take a shower because I cannot get rid of the smell of urine.
Okay, hold up. You told me this story last night in the car.
Yes.
And you described his smile as beatific. That's a much better word. Why did you
Yes.
omit it this time?
Improve your vocabulary through podcasting, Strode.
Beatific, adjective, blissfully happy, Christian theology, imparting holy bliss. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Anything else you guys want to yell at me about?
Yeah,
I
make
don't-
sure you're recording this.
She wasn't yelling.
No. Okay. Anything else you want to quietly curse me about?
I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed.
Oh, God. Joe, what are you geeking on?
Me?
Yes.
Me besides Brazilian midget porn?
Brazilian?
Brazilian.
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 Bajillions of midget porn.
Brazilians of Brazilian midgets.
Brazilians.
Sorry, I was crying. I'll get back in character.
All right. I just read comic books. Not a lot, just a few. And let's see, I've through the Halloween Comic Fest, where you could go to your favorite comic store on Halloween and pick up a free copy of various stuff. I was able to find my copy of Sabrina #1 from Archie. So I lined up 1 through 4 and got to read it. And much like Afterlife with Archie, it's creepy, crazy fun. The only real concern I have, and I don't know if you want to throw a spoiler warning up, is that they kill off one of the main characters, or at least someone who I would have thought would have become a main character. And I think that's even a problem with Afterlife with Archie. Yeah, that's fine. Shockingly, you kill off all these characters. Who's left? Who do we possibly care about if you've eliminated half of the Archie cast and the other half is the zombie horde? It's no wonder we're not seeing these come out in record time. I think the problem was they should have just stuck with it. Hey, we got a nice little story to do instead of, oh my God, people are buying this stuff like crazy. We got to figure a way to keep it going. Nope, too late. You already killed everybody. Other comics I read, I picked up and read Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. Enjoying it. Kind of curious to see where they're going with it. One of the interesting themes is that Peter Parker is now kind of doing the role that Tony Stark was. And they kind of said that Spider-Man is now the personal guard for Peter Parker, which is why they appear all the time. Speaking of Iron Man, I was able to pick up issues 1 and 2 of Iron Man, written by Bendis, and I'm liking this one too. Corey talked last podcast about how Secret Wars is kind of over for him because we're already kind of seeing the end of the Secret Wars just by what's going on in some of these books. I'm not that divorced from it. I'm still curious to see where Secret Wars is going to end up. New issue came out, so I'm going to read that eventually. Where the hell did it go? I was going to save it for next week. But because of the cat's out of the bag, yeah, we podcasted. That Wednesday, Secret Wars 7 came out. I read it. Probably the weakest issue so far because they're moving forwards towards the end. And as we've been told, they've kind of slunked it out to issue 9. And you almost need it. This is almost like the beginning, or when Crisis came out, the middle issues just kind of floundered and didn't go anywhere. I mean, stuff happens, but there wasn't really an oh my God moment like they were in the previous 6. So that's okay. We got issues 8 and 9 to go. And when was 9 coming out? January?
Well, it's supposed to be out in December, but I ain't holding my breath.
I read Karnak #1. Again, Ellis has got his hands on this one. Oh, fantastic. Is he doing just the first 6 issues of this?
Yes, Warren Ellis is only doing the first 6 issues that we know of.
Okay.
They have not announced if he is doing 12.
He finally made this character interesting enough to read. If they could actually make the individual Inhumans interesting as opposed to just a bunch of morons that sit around and follow a Silent King, they might have their X-Men in their hands. Karnak was fantastic. I can't wait to see where else they go with it. Read the first issue of I Hate Fairyland. Oh, this is crazy fun. I almost want to get the variant cover where she's just yelling, blank Fairyland. But yeah, this is just a a fun one. I read the story behind the story where the guy talks about this is the story that I want to write. And when he listened to a friend of his and said, just pick one of your stories and go, he went to Eric Stephenson, who I believe was the Muckety Muck at Image at the time, pitched his idea. And Eric's reply was, "You just made my fucking day." So here we got I Hate Fairyland #1. Pick it up. Paper Girls 2 come out. I'm really enjoying Paper Girls 2 because there is some weird crap going on. We don't know what's going on any more than the main heroes of the story do. So we're finding out as it goes along. And these girls are not freaking out. They're not like, oh my God, there's zombies. Oh my God, we got to do something. No, they're kind of reacting like maybe a real person might. They don't know if these characters, are they sick? Are they wearing contacts? Is it an actual alien fight? They don't know, and things just keep getting weirder, and it's been a lot of fun. Picked up the last issue of Thor's. I complained about one of the crossovers earlier. I think it was Age of Apocalypse, Marvel Zombies. It felt like, oh, here's the end. This one smacks of the same problem. A great setup. Oh, here's the end. It kind of rolls over into Secret Wars, which is why it probably didn't come out when it was supposed to. But again, the ending was sudden. I didn't like it. It wasn't believable. And the last thing I want to talk about is the often delayed but never imitated Uncanny X-Men 600. Not quite the ending I think everybody's going to want, but it was a good story. I enjoyed it. I don't know if Bendis was hamstrung when he did the finish, kind of like, okay, you got to finish your stories, but you're not really finishing it because, as we already know, the X-Men that got brought forward are going to be around. Some of the characters from Secret Wars are going to be around. So it was a good story. I enjoyed it. I don't know if it was worth the wait, but nevertheless. They also did a reprint, which I believe is from one of the, what do they call it? Was it Bizarre Adventures? Had an Iceman black and white story in it.
Yes.
And it's really cool to see that story again. I hadn't read it in ages. So those were books that came out since, what are we calling it? CS, Corey's Screw Up. But the other thing I'm geeking on, and this happened last week, Daniel Fleetwood, who was a Star Wars fan who was dying of cancer, they allowed him to see kind of an unfinished cut of Star Wars The Force Awakens. And he, through his, I don't know if his wife or his fiancée, is saying that he absolutely loved it. No, his wife. She's the one who posted saying that he saw it and he absolutely loved it. So I thought that was kind of nice. Nice to see that the stars aligned and something cool happened. Jen, what are you geeking on? What's got you going today?
I got two things. And I have a little bit of serious talk here. I'm going to stop yelling. Not yelling. I'm just disappointed. Boy. One is that I reached my lowest weight for the entire year, which is not unrelated to my ass hurting after sitting on a bench for 4 hours. There's less padding there than there used to be. But nevertheless, I'm pretty excited about that. Perhaps more importantly, I'm making new comics. I wouldn't have been in the original recording, but I am actually sitting in front of my Cintiq cleaning a comic while I am ignoring Joe.
She says that like I'm supposed to be offended at it. If she was paying attention to me, I'd be shocked. Shocked.
Absolutely flabbergasted.
Now,
I am
as
finishing.
we all know, when it comes to comics,
I like
No,
comics.
we can't say
Comics
that
are
anymore.
Great.
good.
We have one gin over.
Yeah, I'm like learning and shit.
And shit.
And shit. All right?
Shit.
Let me finish. You get to plug your eBay shit. I get to plug mine.
I know, and I'm waiting for you to open your commissions list because I want to be #1 on that.
I'm not drawing fucking Star Wars, Joe.
Nope, I'm not. Would never have you draw Star Wars.
All right. Well, if you want to buy some art from me, I really need one of those things I can hang my hat on that you put inside the door. What's it called? A fucking coat tree. Yeah. Anyway, I am finishing a new comic that I will probably post within the hour, so it'll already be up by the time you hear this. I've got almost 1,000 people either friend or follow me on my Facebook now. Please add me on Facebook because I post my comics there. It's a lot easier to follow them than, unless you're one of the handful of people that still use RSS, because my update schedule is pretty sporadic. So it's facebook.com/JinWicked, JINWICKED. I'm posting new Dollar Lake comics. I'm going to be wrapping that up and working on a book shortly and then finishing the Lunch Break archive. So I'm pretty excited to be actually working again. Right as things get busy for Christmas. Also, I need a Christmas tree, so if you have $1, that would be great.
If you have 2, that'd be twice as
That
great.
would be twice as great. And 3, believe it or not, would be 4 times as great.
Hold on. Let's carry the 2.
I've lost Corey.
Hey, I told you, no math.
I was told there would be no math.
You can also visit my website, jinwicked.com, and there's a little stripey thing there, and there's a thing that says comics, and you can read through all my comic archives for free there. It won't cost you anything, and there's not even any ads. Because unlike some people, I prefer to serve my content ad-free.
Yeah, well, you don't have to buy pie.
I just beg you for $1 instead.
Right.
Which you are totally under no obligation whatsoever to give me, but it would be very nice if you did. Corey, what are you geeking on?
Well, last time the only thing I was geeking on was Doctor Strange. I finally got to sit down and read Doctor Strange #1. Doctor Strange has always been a favorite of mine, but after reading this issue, I realized that it was the stories and the setting and not the character, because Doctor Strange himself is kind of bland. He really just is generic, heroic guy. His backstory is rarely touched upon in the stories. It's more the fact that he is the master of the mystic arts and the sorcerer supreme rather than who he is. Jason Aaron has given him a personality, which probably is much like what he will have in the movie. And I really enjoyed that. Another problem with Doctor Strange is that he can pretty much literally do anything, because the rules for magic in the Marvel Universe are about the same as the rules for science in Star Trek. It's whatever the story needs. And Jason Aaron has kind of shown that he's going to put some parameters around that, which I really like, because if your character can do anything like Superman, where's the threat? But it wouldn't have worked if not for the art. The art by, and now I'm drawing a blank.
Getting old.
No, it's more I've got stuff going on.
Uh-oh. Check the podcast. Make sure it's recording. This is what happened last time.
This
Stupid cat.
call is being recorded.
Re-recorded. Throw a cucumber on the ground. Cats hate cucumbers.
Chris Bacalo's art.
I hate cucumbers.
Chris Bacalo's art.
He hates cucumbers. I lied. I don't know if he likes cucumbers.
Kind of comes off the page. The way he draws character and the way that he draws for color really makes the art come off the page in almost a 3D way. It's really beautiful work and really impressive, and I can't wait for the next issue.
Joe!
The other one...
He's pretending like he can't hear us.
I'm forging ahead because we've gone a long time. The other book I read is a book that I read since last week. I got it from the library. It's called The Arab of the Future, and I will butcher this guy's name, by Riyad Sattouf. He was a cartoonist for Charlie Hebdo, and this is a graphic memoir It's autobiographical. The artist had a French mother and an Arab father, and it talks about how they met and the cultural differences. And I don't want to give too much of it away, but his father...
Not too much.
His father was completing a doctorate in history, fell in love with a French woman. They got married, they had a child, and it talks about the history of the Arab world at that time, what it was like for really as the Arab world was shifting from really almost secular to more religious, as Libya moved to a dictatorship. A lot of history that I probably should have known about but don't know about. It's also drawn in a cartoony style that feels it's very different from American cartooning, and I'm really impressed by it. And I know that this is just the first volume and there will be more, but if you're looking for something outside the mainstream superhero comic wise, but inside the mainstream sort of memoir wise, Arab of the Future is an excellent read, and I cannot recommend it enough.
Holy shit, how have we been talking for 50 minutes?
I know! Believe it or not, kids, you've listened to us blather on about comics for almost 2 hours. And as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Joe?
Hit Jin's music. I threw away the quote I used from last episode, so no quote this week.
Rub-a-dub-dub, thanks for the grub. Hit my music, boys.